what's up, everybody? This is Eddy Miranda here with the Pro League News Pages, and we are on the road to the Arnold Sports Festival. And we have been interviewing some of the top notch athletes that are going to be gracing the stage this year. And who we have today is no stranger to the Olympia stage. I believe it is his first time hitting the Arnold stage this year. He is considered one of the most underrated classic physiques out there right now. And we know that he will be making huge, huge waves coming into 2020. And who we want to introduce today is Terrence Ruffin. How you doing, Terrence? How's everything?
Hey man, I'm good. That's a pretty good intro. Yeah. I like it. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
doing good.
good. So, with any other competitor, I've been asking some of these core questions, and one of them is, we want to know who the kind of person or who you were before you even got into bodybuilding or just even into competing itself.
Okay. Well, I was still very young, so I was still forming who I was as a person. I got into bodybuilding when I was 18. But before that, I'm from a small town of about 400. I graduated with a class of 100 or so in Beatrice, Alabama, and then from there I joined the military at 17. Um, and during my time in the military is when I started bodybuilding. My job in the Air Force was avionics, or more specifically, electronic warfare. But yeah, it's really not a whole lot I did before bodybuilding, I would say. Yeah, yeah.
So, did you play like any sports in high school? Or
Yeah, I did. I played sports throughout my whole life. When I was real young, I did soccer and gymnastics, and in middle school, track and football, and then when I got to high school, just football.
Now, a trend that I kind of see with a lot of competitors that do really, really well in the sport of bodybuilding, is the fact that they, ended up doing sports either in their high school career or, in their college career or whatever the case may be. Now, how do you feel that has influenced you going into bodybuilding?
I think I was just talking to a friend about that, and pretty much they kind of helped me to realize, like, literally everything that I've, like, my whole life has been setting me up for bodybuilding. Um, Even before sports, and my mom was very strict. We didn't have sodas in the house, and she cooked pretty healthy, grilled chicken on the George Foreman and stuff like that. And then once I got into sports, I really think like the discipline and basically just doing what you're told um, definitely helps with bodybuilding. And then to add to that, the added fact of the military discipline and the strictness of that, it honestly made the transition into bodybuilding very easy.
Now, given the fact that you're from Alabama, when you started competing in your amateur career, you did two shows in 2 different years in the state of Florida, which was the Panhandle Showdown.
Hmm.
And you did them both in bodybuilding. So tell us about your experience doing those two amateur shows in bodybuilding.
Well, I got into bodybuilding. Let's see, right after so a little backstory. When I joined the Air Force, I was joining to be in the Special Forces. That didn't end up working out, unfortunately, or fortunately. And um, soon after that, I found like a gym right across the street. That was in this condemned apartment complex, and I started lifting weights. I gained like 20, 25 pounds in the first three months or so, and then went to my first duty station once I finished up my new job. I found this bodybuilding couple, and they basically told me I didn't have any, like, I thought it would take me a lot longer to get on stage. I was like, oh, it'll probably take me like another year. And they're like, no, you're hopping on stage in like 3 months. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, well, okay. So that's what we did. And I did the Panhandle Showdown. I was 19. Got last place in the open in bodybuilding. And I got second place in the teenager division. But I mean, I was 19, so that wasn't all that impressive in my opinion. Um, then a lot of people I notice now, especially a lot of kids, they want this instant gratification, and I'm like, well, for me, those two losses, I was like, well, it just really motivated me to do better. Like I really became like a shut in. All I did was work in bodybuild. I didn't go out. I didn't do anything. And then the following year, I came back and I won my class and I won like the novice overall. Yeah, so that's kind of like the how I got into it.
And after you won in the open division in that amateur show, you pretty much prepped and shot for NPC Nationals in Miami that exact same year. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
now you went in as a lightweight at that show, but you actually ended up winning your class at that show, getting your pro card. Now, given the fact that you had only did two shows, you weren't that experienced on stage. Like, what was your reaction to getting your pro card at such a young career? And mind you, from what I saw, you were one of the youngest pros to receive your pro card in that division at the time, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what was your reaction to getting that pro card with the experience that you have had?
You know, as I always say, like I always, even then, like I said, like with the competing part, I didn't plan on competing anytime soon. I didn't plan on going to nationals either. I was like, well, I think I'll be good at nationals once I hit 180. And the funny thing is, I'm still not 180 pounds on stage yet, so I would have been waiting, like a long time. But um, this pro, Nick Trigili, he was in town, and he just kind of convinced me to compete, and that's what I did. So like I just basically throughout my whole career, I just listened to the people that I trusted and had more experience and had more knowledge than me. And it was pretty cool once I got to nationals. They don't do this very often, but I went through, I got first call outs, and then literally instead of calling us back into like on the side, they literally told me and this one other guy to just go home. You're done. You don't need to come. You guys are the two best. You guys are, yeah. I was like, wow, that was really cool. And so literally, like, I get off stage and like my mom's there and I start crying. I was like, I won. She's like, what? She's like, how do you know? I was like, because of the, I had to explain it to her. She's like, because of this. And she's like, oh, she starts hugging me and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it was an amazing experience. I really didn't know what was gonna happen. Like I said, like you said, I didn't have much experience on stage. I just, just kind of put my head down and focused on what I could, control and just did that.
And given the fact you won your pro card in bodybuilding, you won in the lightweight division, you took about 2 years off to go back onto the pro stage. But in that time, you've made the decision from going from open bodybuilding to classic physique. Now, what motivated you to make that change to in the 2016 season?
Well, when I turned pro, there was no classic physique,
Correct.
so that was the reason why I took 2015 off, because I was, trying to gain size for that. When classic came out, I was still a little hesitant to switch over. I didn't know what it was about. Really, they explained it, but like you don't really know until you see it. So, once the first show came around, I talked to my coach, and he's like, "Yeah, I think this is pretty cool." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I'm like, I'm nowhere near big enough to do the 212 yet. I'm still like 100 and at the time I was 100 and maybe 60, 157 pounds. So I'm like, well, yeah, let's go ahead and switch over. And that's kind of how I went about it. Just waited and saw what it was about, and then just kind of made a decision based on my physique.
Now, in the 2016 season, of course, that's when Classic started. But there was a trend at those shows. There wasn't any more than anywhere from 4 to 7 competitors for Classic Physique at those shows.
Yeah.
You did Prestige Crystal Cup, you did Tampa Pro, and you also did Diana Cadu and Kentucky Muscle in the same year. And by the way, I competed at the Diana Cadu the same year that you were on stage. So
Cool, yeah, man, yeah, yeah.
I was in the amateur, but but given the fact in 2016 it starting a brand new division, how competitive did you feel it was at that very beginning, given the fact that you had these very select guys and they're all going for the Olympia the same year? How competitive did you feel 2016 was as far as Classic is concerned?
Well, at the time, when you're in it, yeah, I definitely felt like it was competitive, but I would say compared to now, it's nothing compared to now. Like each year, 17 it got better, 18 got better, 19, and even this year it's even better. And it's been pretty interesting with me as a competitor that started Classic from the beginning. A lot of the guys that in that first Mr. Olympia can't win a pro show anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting to try to like be one of those guys that can continue to improve and continue to stay relevant and at the top or near the top, you know. Um, but yeah, it's definitely changed a lot. And I mean, like, if you think of, like, I remember that first Olympia, really only one guy on that stage had turned pro in classic physique, and that was Robert Timms. Everybody else had turned pro in bodybuilding or classic,
Mhm.
you know. So um, definitely was interesting.
Yeah, everybody on the 2016 stage came from bodybuilding or grew up from men's physique. Like Arash grew up from
Mm-hmm.
men's physique, but you have Danny Hester that came down from bodybuilding. You have Darian Charles that came down from bodybuilding. So it was a nice slew of guys that really weren't inside like that look, but were trying to achieve that look coming from other divisions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, given your career as a pro, after 2016, you've only really done like maybe one or two shows, per year, right? But you went to the Olympia in 2016, you placed ninth. You went 2017, you placed sixth, but then 2018, you placed ninth again.
Yeah.
Now, and either way, on all three shows, you still were able to grace the main stage at the Olympia, right? But come 2000, going to 2019 season, it looks like you kind of took like a step back. Like, what was the reasoning for that? And did you really miss out on yourself, like going to the Olympia that year after being there for 3 years in a row?
Oh well, like me and my coach, like even before we talked, I had in my mind, I'm like, well, I could possibly win a show and go to the Olympia, but with my physique, and I wouldn't have been much better. I needed that time off to get better and actually improve and get better placings. Um, with me being younger, I got plenty of time to be on the Olympia stage. I'm 26 now, so I still got at least like another 10 good years, maybe like 15 if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, that was the thing. I would rather get better and improve, and my goal is to at least get like top five at the Olympia. And I came pretty close in that 2017, and then 2018 came around, and I'm like, well, shoot, I'm kind of moving backwards, so I had to figure out what other things I could do to get better.
Yeah. Now, given the fact that you sent in your request, your application for the Arnold Sports, you started prepping for it. What was your main purpose to try to grace that stage for the first year after you've been a pro after 3 or 4 years?
Honestly, I was hoping that sooner or later they would start giving invitations to Classic, but I feel like that's not going to happen anytime soon. So I'm like, well, you know what? I'm like, I was talking to my coach Matt Porter. He passed away last year, but I was talking to him and I was like, well, we got, I want like if I'm going to take a year off, I got to come back at a bigger show. And granted, I did do a show Niagara Falls, but that's just because I didn't realize you had to compete in 2019 to do the Arnold Classic this year. There was a little technicality, um, but yeah. So it was between the Arnold and the New York Pro, and then we just kind of decided like, oh, let's do the Arnold. Let's go big. Just go big. Mhm.
Cool. So now going into this actual prep, stepping on the stage, how's your prep, and what are you doing differently than what you did before in order to come out looking better than what you did before at previous shows?
Well, the biggest thing, man, was the time off I took, the time I took to actually build, not be in a deficit, competing, doing 5 shows or 2 shows or however many. I needed that time for myself to kind of improve, and that's really the most important thing, I think. Granted, now um, my training is a little bit different now too. I work with a guy named Joe Bennett, hypertrophy coach. He's trained a lot of great guys: Dallas McCarver, Flex Lewis, Ben Bukowski. I've been working with him every single day, and just having a training partner, someone that's experienced and like it's like has the knowledge and the experience to go along with it. It's just been amazing. Um, so that has literally been like one of the best things I could say going into this prep. Diet wise, cardio wise, I mean, things are always a little bit different, but nothing crazy. I'm not like eating pizza every day or I don't know. It's nothing like people haven't heard before.
I wish you could have pizza during prep, man. I'll be winning every show.
I know, right?
Now, your transition, like you said, your coach was Matt Porter before he had passed away. Um, and I know he was coaching a lot of athletes. In fact, a lot of top-notch athletes at the time, Natalia being one of them.
Yeah.
What was your transition into that? I mean, did you have to did you want to wait a little bit before looking for another coach to try to let things settle, or is it something that it happened and okay, I have to make the switch now and try to find a coach that's going to work well with me?
So I was in a pretty out for with this year on off season. I kind of talked to him and I kind of understood the game plan. I understood where he was going, and I basically just kind of followed what he sent me, and then kind of made changes here there, increased food. But no, I didn't find anybody until I needed to start prep. So I waited a while. I think I waited maybe 6, 7 months or so, or somewhat. I waited a while. And the guy I ended up going with was John Meadows, and John knew Matt, and I've known John. John competed at the 2014 Nationals with me, so I've known him for just as long, and he's always been a great guy. So yeah, it was tough. It was hard. It was really hard. It was really difficult, but it is what you can't do anything about it.
Now going into the Arnold Classic, given the fact your prep has changed, you have a new coach going into the show. What weak points in your physique did you want to work or kind of bring up, stepping onto the stage?
Oh man, it's my arms and my upper body. They always say People always say, "Oh, Ruff, you got like the best legs ever," but then they're like, "Oh man, but you need to work on them arms up there."
No, dude,
So I was like,
you have this amazing hourglass look that you have your sweep on your legs, man. That it just draws to your physique. But yeah, like your legs are really one of your strong points. But I see where you're saying like you really want to work a little bit more, get a little bit fuller on your top half, right?
yeah, yeah. So that's what we've been focusing on, and training wise, obviously less leg days, lower volume on leg days, and just putting that extra work into the arms and the shoulders and upper body is what we've been doing.
And for classic, you guys have to do a posing routine, of course. Um, Now, given the fact that you've done it quite a few times, what's your inspiration to for your posing, and what kind of routine do you have in store for the stage this year?
It's funny, man, because like I did like I kind of put myself in a box for a while. I did a toxic routine, which is like it's under this category called epic music. And so I was like, well, people really like that, so let me do that, keep doing it. So I did like I think 4 other routines with that style of music, and like people like going to the yarn, was like, oh, you want to do something like that again? And I'm like, well, kind of want to switch it up now. I've done that for like quite a bit, so I think I'm gonna do like this. It's kind of like an R&B song now. I'm gonna switch to kind of do a different style of music, just to switch it up. Kind of show people I can do more than one thing. And and yeah, my friend Mike, he suggested. I was talking to him about it. He's a really good poser as well, and he has a background in dancing. So he's like literally like the only guy I talked to about posing that and he kind of told me the same thing. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And but my inspiration is like the the way I pose is influenced by the music I choose to pose to. But like, if you mean by like people, I've drawn inspiration from a lot of guys throughout the years. Lee Labrada, Muhammad Makawi, Kai Green, um, Bob Paris. Bob Paris is like one of the like was the first guy I ever saw to um, actually like coordinate his movements with the words in the songs to a certain extent. And his stuff was like more of like an interpretive dance, at certain times. and I definitely take a lot from him. It's kind of weird that he doesn't like bodybuilding anymore. He kind of hates like I stopped following him for a while because like he just was so bitter, and I was like, dude, I can't. Like I like you, and I'm like, it's cool if you want to show post different stuff about like your acting and your writing, but you don't have to hate bodybuilding at the same time. But I get how it could be kind of old if people only want to talk about one thing and you want to show them something else. I get it, but yeah, I don't know if he's still like that same way on social media, but would love to work with him sometime. And I saw that Muhammad Makawi is doing a posing seminar, but it's all the way in Egypt, and I'm like, yeah, no. He lives in Toronto. I'm like, well, if you had one in Toronto, I would come to that, but
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna fly to Egypt to do it. So
Yeah. And it's cool, like you said Kai Green, because like for me, one of my favorite posing routines, and it's actually I hadn't really been to a pro bodybuilding show until the Arnold Sports in 2016, and that was the last time Kai Green got to compete.
yeah.
And dude, but that posing routine was on fire, bro. That I loved that posing routine, dude.
His stuff is cool too. His stuff is like a mixture too. His stuff is interesting. Yeah, definitely interesting. Like I remember he's literally the reason why I posed the way I posed. I remember from my first show, my coach, he was really basic. He was like a Branch Warren type poser. He would do some most musculars, and he was showing me some stuff. And I went home and I was like, well, let me look up some stuff online. And I tell people this all the time. Like I don't know what happened to like the younger generation where I'm like, you guys were brought up on like the internet, but you guys never look stuff up. Like they always asking me stuff. I'm like, well, why don't you just Google it real quick? But let's getting off subject here. But yo, so like I looked up some posing and I saw Kai and I was like, oh, you can do that on stage. This is awesome. So I kind of like my first routine is well, not my first. My first routine's on YouTube somewhere, but I can't find it. But you can find my second routine pretty easily, and you can see a lot of like his movements in there. I mean, it was very unpolished, but it was interesting at this. It was interesting. So it's there if you want to watch it. Yeah.
Now, gracing the stage for the first time, there's a lot of competitors here. I mean, there's a lot more international competitors on this time around, but you don't have George. You don't have the two previous winners that were there. It's an open field,
Yeah.
but also everybody on that list you've never competed against. Now, how do you feel going into that stage now that it's open to anybody to win that title this year? But given the fact that you really haven't competed, but you do have some strong people in there like Santi, Fellow, those kind of guys.
Yeah.
We're from Miami. I mean, I had to
Yeah,
shoot out the name.
well, yeah. It's cool though. Like I know a lot of these guys. Like both of those guys, Miami guys too. Yeah, Santi. We didn't like compete against each other, but we were at that. We got a pro card together, and I thought that was pretty cool. That this will be our first time in like, what's that? In 6 years, almost 6 years since we've been on stage. At the same time. Feyo, or Alex, I met him in El Salvador. We guest posed together. We spent like a week together right before he switched over to Classic. He didn't even tell me. He gave me some hints. He's like, "Yo, me and you got similar physiques." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're 212. You huge." And then literally like 6 months later, he was doing Classic. I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's why he was saying that." But I'm really excited. Like I like a lot of these guys, man. These guys are friends, but I'm also excited to see where I stack up after this time off. I'm definitely really excited to see that and really just be able to give my best. Considering like the sentimental reasons with me and Matt this is the last thing we had kind of decided together. So I'm definitely really excited for the competition to come.
Now, after the actual Arnold itself, do you have your sights set on any shows to be able to qualify for the 2020 Olympia stage?
So I'm already qualified from the Niagara Falls.
Oh,
I
100%.
wanted,
Sorry.
yeah. I wanted to compete at a show after the Arnold, but I don't know what happened. I remember last year or the year before they had shows like 1 week after, 2 weeks after. But last time I checked, the next show isn't until a month later in Savannah, and I'm like, well, I don't want to wait a month. That's gonna kind of throw things off. So I was like, well, There's nothing planned until the Olympia, and then after Olympia, I want to do Athleticon. I'm really excited about the Rock show.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah, that's actually a really cool show. I really want to start digging into that one, like because it's again it's a Rock throwing that show. IFBB is going to be at that. They want all the big heavy hitters to be at that show. They're asking for Phil. They're asking for
I heard
Brandon.
Brandon's gonna compete.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm like, yo, like I mean, like anybody that I feel like any guy that doesn't like try to compete at the show is crazy because I'm like the amount of exposure and like I'm guessing like the coverage they'll get, the video content, everything. It's just a really good from like a business standpoint, especially if you already lean from the Olympia. It's not a bad idea
no,
to
no,
do it.
at all, at all. But what are you most excited for at the Arnold? So like, what's like maybe like your top three? Like, who is it that you want to win? Are you looking forward to the expo? Are you looking forward to to seeing anybody else in any other divisions? What are you most excited for this year?
Wow, wow. So so my number one goal, well, one of my goals is to have Arnold record me while I'm doing my routine. Yo, literally, that's probably like the biggest thing I want to happen. Um, yeah. And then he said, "Now that's what I call posing," and I'm like, "All right, yeah." I wanted to do that. Besides that, um, just being on that stage, I'm really excited for, and just seeing like I like Dexter Jackson a lot. He's literally like he's the first bodybuilder I ever saw. Like I picked up a magazine and he was on the cover, and it's pretty cool. Like we have some like not like we're not really close, but like we have a relationship and like he's cool with me every time I see him. He actually told me it was a good idea to take this year off, and I'm excited to see him out and how he does. At the Arnold this year. Um, Besides that, I don't know. I don't know. I've done the expo a lot. Um, I've done the expo a lot, so I don't really know. I mean, I don't know. I think those are the top three. Being on the stage, seeing Arnold, and seeing how Dexter Jackson does.
Yeah, so I mean that's everybody's dream, to get the selfie with Arnold on the
Yeah,
stage.
yeah.
That's usually like the highlight of the show. Forget the awards. It's like, yeah, I got caught by Arnold. Like, come on, man. Like, what more can you ask for?
Exactly. So I'm like, yo, like I may get distracted and I may like, oh, mess up my whole routine.
Steve, give me 1 second. I'm going to go talk to Arnold real quick. I'll be right back.
So yeah, man, I'm really excited for that. I guess last year, the cool thing was I finally got to meet Kai Green. I met Kai Green the first time last year at the Arnold. So Arnold's always been like a cool thing for me. I saw Lee Haney for the first time at the Arnold. So the Arnold's is it's an awesome place to be.
Like, I almost feel like there's more people that show up for the Arnold than the actual Olympia. Like, you wouldn't see Kai Green at the Olympia.
No, you don't.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't see a lot of these top guys at the Olympia. But the Arnold is really like a hub that you get to see. You really get to see like all these legends all in one spot.
that's a good point. That is very true. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe they just really respect Arnold, or maybe I don't really know. You know what else I do like? I do love like people don't realize this like, but like besides bodybuilding, my favorite sport is the strongman. So like I love watching that, man. My favorite guy, he's retired now, Eddie Hall, but I still like watching like those guys. Like I mean, like when you talk about genetics, like I'll never be a strong man. I mean, I need to be like 2 feet taller and like 300 extra pounds. But like it's really cool to see stuff like that and see the weight they're lifting and how they do it. Yeah,
And it's weird because they don't look like they have muscle, but they have muscle.
yeah.
You,
Once they stand next to a bodybuilder, like if you see what's his name oh my goodness, Shaw. If you see Shaw stand next to like Phil, he's like towering over him. He's 400 pounds. It's crazy.
it's insane, man. But again, man, I want to thank you, for joining me today. I know, you're going to be 3 weeks out from the show on a given Friday. I know it's the rough last couple of weeks going into a show. So I want to thank you for jumping on a call with me for this interview. Definitely want to wish you the best on the stage and, of course, for your 2020 season and your road to Olympia, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I totally appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right.